Hey world, we have a new book. Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. First of all, it's little. It's not going to take me as long to get through the other ones. I haven't even made it through the other ones. This one is called Practicing the Power of Now, Essential Teachings, Meditations, and Exercises from the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the thinker. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness becomes activated. You then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. That thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence. You also realize that all the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, inner peace, arise from beyond the mind. You begin to awaken. What a wonderful way to start this book. So that's what we're going to do while I straighten my hair and just another day goes on. So part one, accessing the power of now. When your consciousness is directed outward, mind and world arise. When it is directed inward, it realizes its own source and returns home into the unmanifested. That's fascinating. I have a lot of stuff that I want to learn. I'm a little lost yet again. Here we go. We're lost again. Don't know what's what. So we're gonna read stuff and try to figure out what's what.
I brought Willow with me.
You brought, why?
I don't know, Willow just followed me.
You brought Willow with you. How dear. Hello, Willow.
Hi, Willows. Hi. What are you doing?
She's a sweet little thing. We have a dog that's not a dog. We think she's a shapeshifter. She doesn't understand how her body works.
Yo,
She
Willow?
tries to communicate. Yeah, I'm live. Sorry. I'm doing both. Yeah, we're pretty sure she's a shapeshifter. She tries to talk to you like her mouth actually moves, like she's trying to say words. She can't jump up on the bed. She doesn't know how her body works. I've never seen a dog try to jump up
Try,
on
call
the
your
bed
dog.
and not know how. She doesn't know how to jump. You should see her when she runs. I've never seen a dog like this before. She's not a dog. Okay. How am I gonna... No. This might work. It would be a lot better if I had something propping it. It burned my hand. It gets super hot. Super, super, super hot. Okay, I don't want it like up, but I need it up enough that I can read it while I'm doing my hair. Come on, work with me. Okay, so chapter 1, Being and Enlightenment. There is an eternal, ever-present, one life beyond the myriad forms of life that are subject to birth and death. Many people use the word God to describe it. I often call it being. The word being explains nothing, but nor does God. Being, however, has the advantage that it is an open concept. It does not reduce the infinite invisible to a finite eternity. It is impossible to form a mental image of it. Nobody can claim exclusive possession of being. It is your very presence, and it is immediately accessible to you as the feeling of your own presence. So it is only a small step from the word being to the experience of being. How wonderful. I like that. Very biased. Nobody's offended right off the bat. Being is not only beyond, but also deep within every form of its innermost invisible and indestructible essence. This means that it is accessible to you now as your own deepest self, your true nature, but don't seek to grasp it with your mind. Don't try to understand it. Sorry, give me a second here. Next layer. You can know it only when the mind is still, when you are present, when your attention is fully and intensely in the now. Being can be felt, but it can never be understood mentally. To regain awareness of being and to abide in that state of feeling realization is enlightenment. Where did that go? So again, to regain awareness of being and to abide in that state of feeling realization is enlightenment. The word enlightenment conjures up the idea of some superhuman accomplishment, and the ego likes to keep it that way, but it is simply your natural state of felt oneness with being. It is a state of connectedness with something immeasurable and indestructible, something that, almost paradoxically, is essentially you, and yet is much greater than you. It is finding your true nature beyond name and form. The inability to feel this connectedness gives rise to the world around you. You then perceive yourself consciously or unconsciously, let me try that again. The inability to feel this connectedness gives rise to the illusion of separation from yourself and from the world around you. I read that entirely wrong. You then perceive yourself, consciously or unconsciously, as an isolated fragment. Fear arises and conflicts within and without become the norm. The greatest obstacle to experiencing the reality of your connectedness is identification with your mind, which causes thought to become compulsive. Not to be able to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction, but we don't realize this because almost everybody is suffering from it, so it is considered normal. This incessant mental noise prevents you from finding that realm of inner stillness that is inseparable from being. It also creates a false mind-made self that casts a shadow of fear and suffering. Identification with your mind creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions that block all true relationship. It comes between you and yourself, between you and your fellow man and woman, between you and nature, between you and God. It is this screen of thought that creates the illusion of separateness, the illusion that there is you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential fact that underneath the level of physical appearance and separate forms, you are one with all that is. The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. To put it more accurately, it is not so much that you use your mind wrongly. You usually don't use it at all. It uses you. This is the disease. You believe that you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over. I love it already. What a fascinating book so far. It's almost as if you were possessed without knowing it, and you take the possessing entity to be yourself. The being of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker. Knowing this enables you to observe the entity. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness becomes activated. You then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. That thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence. You also realize that all the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, inner peace, arise from beyond the mind. You begin to awaken, freeing yourself from your mind. The good news is that you can free yourself from your mind. This is the only true liberation. You can take the first step right now. Start listening to the voice in your head as often as you can. Pay particular attention to any repetitive thought patterns, those old audio tapes that you've been playing in your head perhaps for many years. This is what I mean by watching the thinker, which is another way of saying listen to the voice in your head. Be there as the witnessing presence. When you listen to that voice, listen to it impartially. That is to say, do not judge. Do not judge or condemn what you hear, for doing so would mean that the same voice has come in again through the back door. You'll soon realize there's the voice, and here I am listening to it, watching it. This I am realization, this sense of your own presence is not a thought. It arises from beyond the mind. So when you listen to a thought, you are aware not only of the thought, but also of yourself as the witness of the thought. A new dimension of consciousness has come in. As you listen to the thought, you feel a conscious presence and deeper self behind or underneath the thought, as it were. The thought then loses its power over you and quickly subsides because you are no longer energizing the mind through identification with it. This is the beginning of the end of involuntary and compulsive thinking. When a thought subsides, you experience a discontinuity of the mental stream, a gap of no mind. At first, the gaps will be short, a few seconds perhaps, but gradually they will become longer. When the gaps occur, you feel a certain stillness and peace inside you. This is the beginning of your natural state of felt oneness with being, which is usually obscured by the mind. With practice, the sense of stillness and peace will deepen. In fact, there is no end to its depth. You will also feel a subtle emanation of joy arising from deep within. The joy of being. In this state of interconnectedness, you are much more alert, more awake than in the mind-identified state. You are fully present. It also raises that vibrational frequency of the energy field that gives life to the physical body. As you go more deeply into the realm of no mind, as it sometimes is called in the East, you realize the state of pure consciousness. In that state, you feel your own presence with such intensity and such joy that all thinking, all emotions, your physical body, as well as the whole external world become relatively insignificant in comparison to it. I got an email. Where was I? And yet this is not a selfish but a selfless state. It takes you beyond what you previously thought of as yourself. That presence is essentially you, and at the same time inconceivably greater than you. Instead of watching the thinker, you can also create a gap in the mind stream simply by directing the focus of your attention into the now. Just become intensely conscious of the present moment. This is a deeply satisfying thing to do. In this way, you draw consciousness away from the mind activity and create a gap of no mind in which you are highly alert and aware but not thinking. This is the essence of meditation. Oh, where's my highlighter? I don't want to get up. Whatever. I'll highlight it later. Okay. In your everyday life, you can practice this by taking any routine activity that normally is only a means to an end and giving it your fullest attention so that it becomes an end in itself. For example, every time you walk up and down the stairs in your house or place of work, pay close attention to every step, every movement, even your breathing. Be totally present. Or when you wash your hands, pay attention to all the sense perceptions associated with the activity, the sound and feel of the water, the movement of your hands, the scent of the soap, and so on. Or when you get into your car, after you close the door, pause for a few seconds and observe the flow of your breath. Become aware of a silent but powerful sense of presence. There is one certain criterion by which you can measure your success in this practice, the degree of peace that you feel within. The single most vital step on your journey toward enlightenment is this. Learn to disidentify from your mind. Every time you create a gap in the stream of mind, the light of your consciousness grows stronger. One day you may catch yourself smiling at the voice in your head as you would smile at the antics of a child. This means that you no longer take the content of your mind at all that seriously, as your sense of self does not depend on it. What? Learning to identify from your mind. So, is the mind not the voices in the head that we're just told to listen to? You smile at the antics in your head. This means that you no longer take the content of your mind all that seriously, as your sense of self does not depend on it. Your sense of self does not depend on listening to the voice in your head anymore, after he just said to listen to the voice in your head. He said that it's no longer needed to listen to the voice in your head at this point in time. You can actually giggle at it well, because you're one with yourself. Accepted. That doesn't make sense to me. I'll have to reread that later. That's okay. I'll be rewatching my video later. I always do. Okay. Enlightenment rising above thought. As you grow up, you form a mental image of who you are based on your personal and cultural conditioning. We may have this phenomenon, phantom self-ego. It consists of mind activity and can only be kept going through constant thinking. The term ego means different things to different people, but when I use it here, it means a false sense created by unconscious and identification with the mind. To the ego, the present moment hardly exists. Only past and future are considered important. This total reversal of the truth accounts for the fact that in the ego mode, the mind is so dysfunctional. It is always concerned with keeping the past alive, because without it, who are you? It constantly projects itself into the future to ensure its conditioned survival and to seek some kind of release or fulfillment there. Excuse me. It says, One day when this, that, or the other happens, I'm going to be okay, happy, or at peace. Even when the ego seems to be concerned with the present, it is not the present that it sees. It misperceives it completely because it looks at it through the eyes of the past. Or it reduces the present to a means to an end that always lies in the middle projected future, the mind projected future. Observe your mind and you'll see that this is how it works. I like the book already. The present moment holds the key to liberation, but you cannot find the present moment as long as you are in your mind. Enlightenment means rising above thought. In the enlightenment state, you still use your thinking mind when needed, but in a much more focused and effective way than before. You use it mostly for the practical purposes, but you are free of the involuntary internal dialogue, and there is inner stillness. When you do not working on it. When you do use your mind, and practically when a creative solution is needed, you oscillate every few minutes or so between thought and stillness, between mind and no mind. No mind is consciousness without thought. Only in that way is it possible to think creatively, because only in that way does thought have any real power. Thought alone, when it is no longer connected with the much vaster realm of consciousness, quickly becomes barren, insane, and destructive. When you use your mind, and particularly with a creative solution is needed, you oscillate every few minutes or so between the thought and stillness, between the mind and no mind. The no mind. No mind is consciousness. Consciousness without thought. You're aware, but you're not thinking about anything. You're just in the moment. Oh, well, men do that. Men can do that. Men live in the moment all the time. That describes a man, as per what I've spoken to my boys. Okay. In the moment, no thought. You got to go to Walmart, you need shoes, get your shoes, get out. There's no thought into anything else. That's what they call the no mind. You're doing what that's kind of like that's like autopilot. It's like your body knows what it's supposed to do. And they call that consciousness. So you're conscious. Emotion. The body's reaction to your mind. Mind, in the way I use the word, is not just thought. It includes your emotions as well as all unconsciousness, mental, emotional, reactive patterns. Emotion arises at the place where mind and body meet. It is the body's reaction to your mind, or you might say a reflection of your mind on the body. The more you are identified with your thinking, your likes and dislikes, judgments and interpretations, which is to say the less present you are as the watching consciousness, the stronger the emotional energy charge will be, whether you are aware of it or not. If you cannot feel your emotions, if you are cut off from them, you will eventually experience them on a purely physical level as a physical problem or symptom. What? That's saying that if I shut down my emotions, which I have actually succeeded at quite doing recently, it's going to come out physical. You're going to experience things. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it is. Well, hang on. You can't physically experience sad unless your body gets sluggish and sad and starts to stop. If you don't experience emotions, if you decide not to experience emotions, your body can feel it, I suppose. That's like stress, right? When you're stressed, your body feels it. But is that not a choice of yours? If I choose not to feel sad or angry and I've dropped the emotions associated with those, do I still get angry? Yes, in a sense, but without actually feeling it. My body's not affected, though. My body doesn't feel like it wants to break things. I don't feel the rage that I used to. Like, I don't feel emotions the way that I used to, and I don't have physical effects to that. Like, my body doesn't go into convulsions. I'm not like tumoring up because I'm bundling things and not letting them out. I don't know how I feel about that statement there. If you have difficulty feeling your emotions, start by focusing attention on the inner energy field of your body. Feel the body from within. This will also put you in touch with your emotions. If you really want to know your mind, the body will always give you a truthful reflection. So look at the emotion, or rather feel it in your body. So they say that, well, they just said here, if you're going through something, your body will reflect it. So for example, my right shoulder's been hurting for quite a while. Whoever wrote this would probably say, let's look at what's going on in your life and see if it's connected to that. Maybe it is related into, I don't know, an argument with a family member or something from your past or something. Basically, they're saying whatever's wrong with your body they claim is connected to something you're not dealing with, or something you're feeling, or something that just hasn't been dealt with. Well, that's a wonderful concept. I have a broken tailbone. Can you guys figure out how to figure out what kind of thing frigged me up when I was a kid so that my tailbone's broken and it can fix? I don't think that's how it works. That's confusing. Like, sometimes your body's born with stuff. My tailbone, for example, is not broken because I was born like that. I fell on the ice and it happened to have broken. So that may not be the best example. Again, my arm. Is my arm hurting because I'm not dealing with something? That's what he's insinuating here, that there could be a connection between the two. And I'm not disagreeing with that. Absolutely. No. It's like when you get sick, you can let it tear you apart, you can let it tear you down, establish that you're dying, or you can keep fighting. My dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he was decided that that wasn't it for him. He just simply wasn't going to die that way, and I don't know if that's why he's here with us today. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but that's what they're saying here. They're saying that it's a possibility that if you have something wrong with you, disease or something broken or deformed or something, that it could be because of and it could be because of something that you're not dealing with, I suppose. But sometimes you're born with it, sometimes it's different. So you have to look at it different ways, right? If you wake up one day like I did and you got a sore shoulder and you don't know where it came from, I didn't pull it, I didn't do anything to it, it's been there for months, there's no explanation, I suppose you could look into the theory that yes, it could be connected to something. I'm in a lot of stress, I'm really tense, etc., 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 etc. Is it natural for me to say that my body's feeling the effects of what I'm dealing with emotionally? Yes, of course. That's not a superpower, that's not anything like that. Your body and your emotions, your body and you kind of go hand in hand. So when you get the two under wraps, it kind of helps. They say it helps, but then if you get rid of emotions like I do, I'm not any less tense. I'm still very tense. That's why my shoulders are still very sore, because I hold them tight all the time. They are never loose. I had 2 massages once in my life, and both of them spent an hour trying desperately to release the tension in my shoulders. They're like, we've never met anybody that has such tension in your shoulders. Like, you don't let go, do you? I'm like, no, if I let go, the world falls, man. I'm the turtle, and they're all on my shell. If I let those shoulders go, everything goes with it. So, okay, let's get back on path. If you really want to know your mind, the body will always give you a truthful reflection. So look at the emotion, or rather feel it in your body. If there is an apparent conflict between them, the thought will be the lie, the emotion will be the truth. What? Not the ultimate truth of who you are, but the relative truth of your state of mind at that time. Oh, okay, I should have finished that sentence. That's a good sentence. Okay, that's important. You may not yet be able to bring your unconscious mind activity into awareness as thoughts, but it will always be reflected in the body as an emotion, and of this you can become aware. To watch an emotion in this way is basically the same as listening to or watching a thought, which I described earlier. The only difference is that while a thought in your head, an emotion has a strong physical component, and so it is primarily felt in the body. You can then allow the emotion to be there without being controlled by it. You are no longer the emotion, you are the watcher, the observing presence. That's what I've come to. That's what I'm starting to learn how to master, is to understand that if I am angry, I am angry, but I don't feel the emotion. So I'm saying the words and I have my rants, and sometimes I go in my I'm super angry, but I'm not feeling the emotion. So if anybody was to walk in the room and the conversation had to be changed, I'm able to change it like that. I'm able to go back into wherever I was or the moment that I need to be in and continue on with my life. I'm expressing myself, I'm getting it out of my system, but I don't feel it. It doesn't control me anymore. I'm not sitting there shaking, and my PTSD doesn't come out, and my anxiety doesn't come out, and I'm so angry and sweating. What goes on with anger and the tears that come with sadness and all that shit. I don't feel any of that anymore. When I laugh, it's a real laugh. I'm in the present. I understand why I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I actually mean it, but I don't feel the emotion that goes along with it anymore. I find that when emotions start to come through, it actually makes me a little nauseous now. I don't know why, but no, I'm over emotions. Oh my God. No, stop it. If you practice this, all that is unconscious in you will be brought into the light of consciousness. Make it a habit to ask yourself, what is going on inside me at this moment? That question will point you in the right direction, but don't analyze, just watch. Focus your attention within. Feel the energy of the emotion. If there is no emotion present, take your attention more deeply into the inner energy field in your body. It is the doorway into being. We finished a chapter. Look at that. Okay, chapter 2. We might as well keep going. I'm still working on my hair. The psychological... Oh, this one's called The Origin of Fear. The psychological condition of fear is divorced from any concrete and true immediate danger. It comes in many forms: unease, worry, anxiety, nervousness, tension, dread, phobia, and so on. This kind of psychological fear is always of something that might happen, not of something that is happening now. You are in the here and now, while your mind is in the future. This creates an anxiety gap. And if you are identified with your mind and have lost touch with the power and simplicity of the now, that anxiety gap will be your constant companion. You can always cope with the present moment, but you cannot cope with something that is only a mind projection. You cannot cope with the future. I like that. I like this book so far. Moreover, as long as you are identified with your mind, the ego runs your life. Because of its phantom nature and despite elaborate defense mechanisms, the ego is very vulnerable and insecure, and it sees itself as constantly under threat. This is, by the way, the case even if the ego is outwardly very confident. Now remember that an emotion is the body's reaction to your mind. What message is the body receiving continuously from the ego, the false mind-made self? Danger. I am under threat. And what is the emotion generated by this continuous message? Fear, of course. Fear seems to have many causes: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being hurt, and so on. But ultimately, all fear is the ego's fear of death, of annihilation. Annihilation. There is not how to say that, but that is the way it's going to happen. To the ego, death is always just around the corner. In this mind-identified state, fear of death affects every aspect of your life. For example, even such a seemingly trivial and normal thing as the compulsive need to be right in an argument and make the other person wrong, defending the mental position with which you have identified, is due to the fear of death. You fear death when you have to be right? If you identify with a mental position, then if you are wrong, your mind-based sense of self is seriously threatened with annihilation. You think, okay. So, as the ego cannot afford to be wrong is to die. Wars have been fought over this, and countless relationships have broken down. Wow, that's insane. That's depth. I didn't think of it like that. That's crazy. It's a different aspect. Once you have disidentified from your mind whether you are right or wrong makes no difference to your sense of self at all. So the forcefully compulsive and deeply unconscious need to be right, which is a form of violence, will no longer be there. You can state clearly and firmly how you feel or what you think, but there will be no aggressiveness or defensiveness about it. Your sense of self is then derived from a deeper and truer place within yourself, not from the mind. Watch out for any kind of defensiveness within yourself. What are you defending? An illusionary identity, an image in your mind, a fictitious entity. By making this pattern conscious, by witnessing it, you disidentify from it. In the light of your consciousness, the unconscious pattern will then quickly dissolve. This is the end of all arguments and power games which are so corrosive to relationships. Power over others is weakness disguised as strength. The true power is within. It is available to you now. The mind always seeks to deny the now and to escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. You may put it like this: the more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain, of suffering, and free of the ego mind. If you no longer want to create pain for yourself and others, if you no longer want to add to the residue of pain, past pain that still lives on in you, then don't create any more time, or at least no more than it is necessary to deal with the practical aspects of your life. How to stop creating time. This is an interesting book. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life, whereas before you dwelt within time and paid brief visits to the now, have your dwelling place in the now and pay brief visits to the past and future when required to deal with the practical aspects of your life situations. Always say yes to the present moment. End the delusion of time. Here's the key. End the delusion of time. Time and mind are inseparable. Remove time from the mind and it stops, unless you choose it. Unless you choose to use it. That's taking a minute to think of the future. To be identified with your mind is to be trapped in time, the compulsion to live almost exclusively through memory and anticipation. This creates an endless preoccupation with past and future and an unwillingness to honor and acknowledge the present moment and allow it to be. The compulsion arises because the past gives you an identity and the future holds the promise of salvation, of fulfillment in whatever form. Both are illusions. The more you are focused on time, past and future, the more you miss the now, the most precious thing there is. Why is it the most precious thing? Firstly, because it is the only thing. It's all there is. The eternal present is the space within which your whole life unfolds, the one factor that remains constant. Life is now. There was never a time when your life was not now, nor will there ever be. Secondly, the now is the only point that can take you beyond the limited... That's an odd question, Sky. Why is it the most precious thing? Firstly, because it is the only thing. It's all there is. The eternal present is the space within which your whole life unfolds, the one factor that remains constant. Life is now. There was never a time when your life was not now, nor will there ever be. I realize I just read that now. Secondly, the now is the only point that can take you beyond the limited confines of the mind. It is your only point of access into the timeless and formless realm of being. Have you ever experienced, done, thought, or felt anything outside the now? Do you think you ever will? Is it possible for anything to happen or be outside the now? The answer is obvious, is it not? Nothing ever happened in the past. It happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future. It will happen in the now. Okay, that does make sense. The essence of what I am saying here cannot be understood by the mind. The moment you grasp it, there is a shift in consciousness from mind to being, from time to presence. Suddenly, everything feels alive, radiates energy, emanates being. Okay, I understand the future concept of that. Nothing happened in the past, it happened in the now. Well, the fact that it happened meant that it did happen in the past. It's not happening now, so the past is not happening now. The past is in the past, as in it's past us. The past can't be in the now, because we've already passed that. So how is the past in the now? How is the past not what? Nothing ever happened in the past. It happened in the now. Well, oh, okay. It happened. Okay. I understand the concept. Okay. All right. I understand what they're saying here. I just had to break it down. Okay. Chapter 3. Entering the now. With the timeless dimension comes a different kind of knowing, one that does not kill the spirit that lives within every creature and everything. A knowing that does not destroy the sacredness and mystery of life, but contains a deep love and reverence for all that is. A knowing of which the mind knows nothing. Break the old pattern of present moment denial and present moment resistance. Make it your practice to withdraw attention from the past and future whenever they are not needed. Step out of the time dimension as much as possible in everyday life. If you find it hard to enter the now directly, start by observing the habitual tendency of your mind to want to escape from the now. You will observe that the future is usually imagined as either better or worse than the present. If the imagined future is better, it gives you hope or pleasurable anticipation. If it is worse, it creates anxiety. Both are illusionary. You're such a weird dog. Through self-observation, you're so weird. Through self-observation, more presence comes into your life automatically. The moment you realize you are not present, you are present. The moment you realize you are not present, you are present. The moment you realize you are not present, you are present. Whenever you are able to observe your mind, you are no longer trapped in it. Another factor has come in, something that is not of the mind, the witnessing presence. Be present as the watchers of your mind, of your thoughts and emotions as well as your reactions in various situations. Be at least as interested in your reactions as in the situation or person that causes you to react. Okay. Notice also how often your attention is in the past or future. Don't judge or analyze what you observe. Watch the thought, feel the emotion, observe the reaction. Don't make a personal problem out of them. You will then feel something more powerful than any of those things that you observe. The still, observing presence itself behind the content of your mind, the silent watcher. Intense presence is needed when certain situations trigger a reaction with a strong emotional charge, such as when your self-image is threatened, a challenge comes into your life that triggers fear, things go wrong, or an emotional complex from the past is brought up. In those instances, the tendency is for you to become unconscious. The reaction or emotion takes you over. You become it. You act it out. You justify, make wrong, attack, defend, except that it isn't you. It's the reactive pattern, the mind in its habitual survival mode. Identification with the mind gives it more energy. Observation of the mind withdraws energy from it. Identification from the mind creates more time. Observation of the mind opens up the dimension of the timeless. The energy that is withdrawn from the mind turns into presence. Once you can feel what it means to be present, it becomes much easier to simply choose to step out of the time dimension whenever time is not needed for practical purposes and move more deeply into the now. How fascinating. This does not impair your ability to use time, past or future, when you need to refer to it for practical matters, nor does it impair your ability to use your mind. In fact, it enhances it. When you do use your mind, it will be sharper, more focused. The enlightened person's main focus of attention is always the now, but they are still perpetually aware of time. In other words, they continue to use clock time, but are free of psychological time. Letting go of psychological time. Learn to use your time in the practical aspects of your life. We may call this clock time, but immediately return to present moment awareness when those practical matters have been dealt with. In this way, there will be no buildup of psychological time, which is identification with the past and continuous compulsive projection into the future. If you set yourself a goal and work toward it, you are using clock time. You are aware of where you want to go, but you honor and give your fullest attention to the step that you take at this moment. If you then become excessively focused on the goal, perhaps because you are seeking happiness, fulfillment, or a more complete sense of self in it, the now is no longer honored. It becomes reduced to a mere stepping stone to the future with no intrinsic value. The clock time then turns into psychological time. Your life's journey is no longer an adventure, just an obsessive need to arrive, to attain, to make it. You no longer see or smell the flowers by the wayside either, nor are you aware of the beauty and the miracle of life that unfolds all around you when you are present in the now. Are you always trying to get somewhere other than where you are? Is most of your doing just a means to an end? Is fulfillment always just around the corner of confined to short-lived pleasures such as sex, food, drinks, drugs, or thrills and excitement? Are you always focused on becoming, achieving, and attaining, or alternatively chasing some new thrill or pleasure? Do you believe that if you require more things, you will become more fulfilled, good enough, or psychologically complete? Are you waiting for a man or woman to give meaning to your life? In the normal, mind-identified, or an unenlightened state of consciousness, the power and infinite creative potential that lie concealed in the now are completely obscured by psychological time. Your life then loses its vibrancy, its freshness, its sense of wonder. The old patterns of thought, emotion, behavior, reaction, and desire are acted out in endless repeat performances, a script in your mind that gives you an identity of sorts but distorts or covers up the reality of the now. The mind then creates an obsession with the future as an escape from the unsatisfactory present. What you perceive as future is an intrinsic part of your state of consciousness. Your mind carries a heavy burden of past. I have to answer my kid. Mom, mommy, mama. Sorry, I need to answer my kid. Hang on, Sky. Hang on. I'm coming. I just didn't get this side down the way I wanted it. Go down! It's so hot. Alright. You know what? I gotta answer my kid. It is what it is. That's okay. I can keep going. I don't have to unplug any of this. Okay, give me a second. I'm not going anywhere. I will be right back. There we go. That's funny. She's asked, Mommy, Mama, do you have any riches? Do I have any riches? We had to look for 25 cents so I could get a coffee today. It's 25 cents short. Okay. It is the quality of your consciousness at this moment that determines the future. If it is your quality of your consciousness. Oh, totally different wording. She didn't want money. She wanted roaches. That's not how she spelled it. Why do you keep going backwards? Yes, Sky. She's just going to have to come up. If it is the quality of your consciousness at this moment that determines the future, then what is it that determines the quality of your consciousness? Your degree of presence. So the only place where true change can occur and where the past can be dissolved is the now. She's coming up. Here she comes. I'm live!
Okay!
And I answered yes!
I know!
What are you doing texting me still?
Thank you.
How are you texting me when your phone's downstairs? Your word roaches came through again.
My phone may be a little slow.
I have a book that you're thoroughly going to enjoy, and you can take it with you or read it before you go, if you're interested in it. It is Practicing the Power of Now, Essential Teachings, Meditations, and Exercises from the Power of Now, learning to be in the now and stop worrying about tomorrow and yesterday. It is a really, really good book. I'm on chapter 3, I think we're at now. I don't know which one we're on, Steph.
Alrighty. Do you have any more?
Currently, no. It's okay. You have enough for you. I'm not worried about the other two. I hadn't anticipated them coming at all.
It was for me. Zayla doesn't smoke.
Oh, that should be enough for your bong, 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 bong.
I smoke really big bowls, Mom. Mine are like about this much weed goes into my bowl. From there to there.
Well, listen, Linda, I am doing bills and food and everything else. You guys figure out your
I'm working on it. I'm still texting Roger. I'm really hoping that he'll get the decency to actually give me my money.
And your people can't help you? Get a hold of your people.
My people all are poor and are
No,
jobless.
not money. I'm talking weed-wise. Your people got green? Send out a post. Hey, people, I
no.
need green. Come over.
Yeah, I know. The only time that I get green, though, is if I pay for it. Like, Cam already gave me weed, so I can't ask Cam for any because he already gave me some. Can't ask Mason because Mason gave me a little bit. And the rest of them that would give me it live in Cornwall or in Carlton Place.
Tom wouldn't lend you? I thought Ryan was coming home with green.
We already talked about this, like, he came home with green a few days ago.
He doesn't smoke as much as you, I presume, so it's not an issue for him to be out.
Oh, him and I smoked the exact same amount. We're sharing this green.
Oh, this is... Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're taking it slower. I mean, we're doing a hell of a lot better. I've only had 2 bowls today.
Well, that's good. No, I've got... Those are it for roaches. I don't have enough meat to wait to make it till the 20th if I keep giving out for all of us. So, let's get through. I'm good with you. Hadn't anticipated him coming home someday with you, so we'll take it a day at a time.
Thank you.
Leave it open. What are you doing? You make it so cold in here when you shut it. Thank you. Listen, Linda. I know where you sleep.
Jessica.
Don't you? I don't understand that. I thought it was Becky.
No, that's, oh my God, Becky, look at her butt.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Who the flip is Jessica? You got a new thing coming at me?
Yes.
What's that reference?
Miss Stacy, it's okay.
Miss Stacy. You can't use references. I don't understand. Listen, dude, where's my car? She's not seen that movie. She doesn't know the reference.
The beef?
She just watched American Pie for the first time the other day. She said she had to because we've been talking about it forever. And she's like, it was about time for me to find out what the hell it was all about. So she watched American Pie, woot, woot, this one time, band camp. I say that all the time. So the other thing I say all the time is, dude, where's my car? She's like, what is that from? I'm like, dude, where's my car? She's like, yeah, no, I get it. What's that from? I'm like, dude, where's my car? She's like, that's what it's called, isn't it? Yes, that is what it's called. It's also something they clearly say in the film. I was gonna say it is a great film. I wouldn't watch it today. It's beyond me today. I'm a little bit too holding on to my brain cells to watch that sort of thing anymore, but it is a good movie. Okay, let's finish the chapter. Oh no, we're not going to finish the chapter. Oh, we're not going to finish the chapter. We're just going to go until the end of this little. Sorry. I didn't even take a puff. It's not even lit. All right. You may find it hard to recognize that time is the cause of your suffering or your problems. You believe that they are suffered by specific situations in your life, and seen from a conventional viewpoint, this is true. But until you have dealt with the basic problem-making dysfunction of the mind, its attachment to past and future and denial of the now, problems are actually interchangeable. If all your problems or perceived cause of suffering or unhappiness were miraculously removed for you today, but you had not become more present, more conscious, you would soon find yourself with a similar set of problems or cause of suffering. Like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. That makes perfect sense. It's like people like me who say all the time, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. Okay, well, that's great. There is another place out there. Like, there's multiple things that you can do. But if I don't like me, and I haven't dealt with things that I've gone through here, and I haven't figured shit out yet, I'm not going to be any happier there. You can give me a different form. You can give me $1 million. You can give me that partner that I'm desperate for. But until I have found peace with me on my own, by myself, figuring out how to do shit, and that it's okay to be on my own by myself, how awesome I am, no matter where I go or what marvelous person comes into my life or is offered to me, we are not going to be satisfied. We are going to miss it completely. We need to start working on ourselves. Happiness is right in front of you every single day. Every single day, it's right in front of you. Whatever beauty is, whatever love is, whatever the hell it is that you consider pretty, I guess, is out there. Every time I go for a walk, I sniff a flower. It's as simple as a flower. Would I like to have that partner buying me a flower, or like handing me that flower, or like a partner there with me? Yeah, it would be nice. But you know what? I'm okay, and because I'm okay with or without a partner, I'm going to enjoy the fullity of that flower, the fullness of that flower. I don't need to pick it and bring it home and have it die in a week. I don't need to stand there, sniff over it, and cry over it 1,000 times because it reminds me of this, that, or the other thing. No, I'm in the now, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to fully enjoy that flower. And I do things like that all the time. I take a lot for granted, and I'm still working on it, but that's just an example of the little things, right? Ultimately, there is only one problem, the time-bound mind itself. There is no salvation in time. You cannot be free in the future. Presence is the key to freedom, so you can only be free now. Finding the life underneath your life situation. What you refer to as your life should more accurately be called your life situation. It is psychological time, past and future. Certain things in the past didn't go the way you wanted them to go. You are still resisting what happened in the past, and now you are resisting what is what is. Hope is what keeps you going, but hope keeps you focused on the future, and this continued focus perpetuates your denial of the now and therefore your unhappiness. Forget about your life situation for a while and pay attention to your life. Your life situation exists in time. Your life is now. Your life situation is mind stuff. Your life is real. Find the narrow gate that leads to life. It is called the now. Narrow your life down to this moment. Your life situation may be full of problems. Your life situations are. But find out if you have any problems in this moment. Not tomorrow or in 10 minutes, but right now. Do you have a problem right now? When you are full of problems, there is no room for anything new to enter. No room for a solution. So whenever you can, make some room. Create some space so that you find the life underneath your life situation. Use your senses fully. Be where you are. Look around. Just look. Don't interpret. See light, shapes, colors, textures. Be aware of the silent presence of each thing. Be aware of the space that allows everything to be. Listen to the sounds. Don't judge them. Listen to the silence underneath the sounds. Touch something, anything, and feel and acknowledge its being. Observe the rhythm of your breathing. Feel the air flowing in and out. Feel the life energy inside your body. Allow everything to be, within and without. Allow the isness of all things. Move deeply into the now. You are leaving behind the deadening world of mental abstraction of time. You are getting out of the insane mind that is draining you of life energy. Just as it is slowly poisoning and destroying the earth. You are awakening out of the dream of time and into the present. All problems are illusions of the mind. Focus your attention on the now and tell me what problem you have at this moment. I am not getting any answer because it is impossible to have a problem when your attention is fully in the now. A situation needs to be either dealt with or accepted. Why make it into a problem? The mind unconsciously loves problems because they give you an identity of sorts. This is normal and it is insane. Problem means that you are dwelling on a situation mentally without there being a true intention or possibility of taking action now, and that you are unconsciously making it part of your sense of wealth. You become so overwhelmed by your life situation that you lose your sense of life, of being, or you are carrying in your mind the insane burden of 100 things that you will or may have to do in the future instead of focusing your attention on the one thing that you can actually do now. When you create a problem, you create pain. All it takes is a simple choice, a simple decision. No matter what happens, I will create no more pain for myself. I will create no more problems. Although it is a simple choice, it is also very radical. You won't make that choice unless you are truly fed up with suffering, unless you've truly had enough. And you won't be able to go through with it unless you access the power of the now. If you create no more pain for yourself, then you create no more pain for others. You also no longer contaminate the beautiful earth, your inner space, and the collective human psyche with the negativity of problem making. Should a situation arise that you need to deal with now, your action will be clear and incisive if it arises out of present moment awareness. It is also more likely to be effective. It will not be a reaction coming from the past conditioning of your mind, but an intuitive response to the situation. In other instances, when the time-bound mind would have reacted, you will find it more effective to do nothing, just stay centered in the now. The joy of being. To alert you that you have allowed yourself to be taken over by psychological time, you can use a simple criterion. Ask yourself, is there joy, ease, and lightness in what I am doing? If there isn't, then time is covering up the present moment, and life is perceived as a burden or a struggle. If there is no joy, ease, or lightness in what you are doing, it does not necessarily mean that you need to change what you are doing. It may be sufficient to change the how. How is always more important than what. See if you can give much more attention to the doing than to the result that you want to achieve through it. Give your fullest attention to whatever the moment presents. This implies that you also completely accept what is, because you cannot give your full attention to something and at the same time resist it. That's interesting. As soon as you honor the present moment, all unhappiness and struggle dissolve, and life begins to flow with joy and ease. When you act out of present awareness, whatever you do becomes imbued with a sense of quality care and love, even the most simple action. Do not be concerned with the fruit of your action. Just give attention to the action itself. The fruit will become of its own accord. This is a powerful spiritual practice. When the compulsive striving away from the now ceases, the joy of being flows into everything you do. The moment your attention turns into the now, you feel a presence, a stillness, a peace. You no longer depend on the future for fulfillment and satisfaction. You don't look to it for salvation. Therefore, you are not attached to the results. Neither failure nor success has the power to change your inner state of being. You have found the life underneath your life situation. In the absence of psychological time, your sense of self is derived from being, not from your personal past. Therefore, the psychological need to become anything other than who you are already is no longer there. In the world, on the level of your life situation, you may indeed become wealthy, knowledgeable, successful, free of this or that, but in the deeper dimension of being, you are complete and whole and now. The timeless state of consciousness. When every cell of your body is so present that it feels vibrant with life, and when you can feel that life every moment as the joy of being, then it can be said that you are free of time. To be free of time is to be free of the psychological need of the past for your identity and the future for your fulfillment. It represents the most profound transformation of consciousness that you can imagine. I love that. I like to say that again. To be free of time is to be free of the psychological need of the past and your identity for your identity, and the future for your fulfillment. That is, if I can remember, I'm going to post that on Facebook later. When you have had your first few glimpses of the timeless state of consciousness, you begin to move back and forth between the dimensions of time and presence. First, you become aware of just how rarely your attention is truly in the now, but to know that you are not present is a great success. That knowing is presence, even if initially it only lasts for a couple of seconds of clock time before it is lost again. Then, with increasing frequency, you choose to have the focus of your consciousness in the present moment rather than in the past or the future, and whenever you realize that you had lost the now, you are able to stay in it, not just for a couple of seconds, but for longer periods of perceived from the external perspective of clock time. So, before you are firmly established in the state of presence, which is to say, before you are fully conscious, you shift back and forth a while between consciousness and unconsciousness, between the state of presence and the state of mind identification. You lose the now and you return to it again and again. Eventually, presence becomes your predominant state. So we read 3 chapters. That's awesome. I could keep going, and I could keep going, but this is a good book. I'd like to listen to what I had just read and kind of just soak it all in before I continue. I didn't take a minute to dissect everything the way that I normally do. I just kind of read. This was really good. This is something that I should probably reread 100 times. So I'm going to log off for a moment, and I'm going to rewatch everything that I just read. I may jump on a little bit later, but new book. Fantastic so far. I'm loving it. All right. Talk to you guys later. Love ya.